a lot of you will never understand what that means because your white faces has the complexion for protection and I do not.
Hey, what's going on, my Western World One community? Check it out, man. I wanted to kind of revisit Amberguyger's trial. I was really looking at it, right? When I was looking at some of the news clips, I wanted to just say, wow, from my perspective, everything is all alleged with facts. Trying to prove here is everything went more in Amberguyger's favor from day one of the shooting all the way up until the trial. So check it out, man. Ride with me. Let's check out some of these clips.
Now with the new images in the deadly police mistake in Dallas, authorities identifying the off-duty officer who shot and killed the youth pastor in his own home, telling police she thought she was in her apartment and that he was an intruder. Here's ABC's Zachary Quiche.
Tonight, this new video posted by a neighbor appears to show an off-duty Dallas police officer in uniform and in distress, moments after she walked into an apartment that she thought was hers and killed the man living there. The medic seen here trying to revive him.
The Texas Rangers had an opportunity to interview the officer. Based on that interview, they asked us to hold off on the warrant.
Dallas police initially said they would pursue a manslaughter charge against Officer Amberguyger, who's been on the force for 4 years, after she told investigators she believed the innocent man was an intruder. But that changed after the Texas Rangers took over the case. Investigators aren't saying whether the officer and the victim knew each other, but she has been placed on administrative leave. Tom?
Zachary Quiche for us.
Okay, guys, so check it out. So now, since the Texas Rangers stepping in, they basically want to do their own investigation so they can see what they could come up with. And far as this, they charging this with manslaughter, and you know manslaughter is basically manslaughter 1, manslaughter 2, to see if this was an intent to kill or if it was in the passion, you know, meaning that she would just emotionally distraught, whatever else is going on. I don't know, but you tell me. We're gonna sit back and keep on going and just look at these clips, man. I love these clips, man. Y'all gotta love them too. Check it out.
Here is what this affidavit says. Officer Guyger, according to the affidavit, parked on the 4th floor parking garage here, walked to her apartment, which is 1378. That's on the 3rd floor. She didn't know she was on the 4th floor, she has said. That's Botham Jean's apartment, 1478, directly above hers. She says the door was slightly ajar and fully opened when she put in her key, that the apartment was nearly completely dark, and that the door being open also alerted Botham Jean to Guyger's presence in the apartment. Then she says, believing she had encountered a burglar, which was described as a large silhouette across the room in what she thought was her apartment, Guyger drew her firearm, gave verbal commands that were ignored by Botham Jean, and then that she fired her handgun 2 times, striking Botham Jean 1 time in the torso. Then it says she entered the apartment, called 911, and when asked by police and EMS where she was, returned to the front door, and only then discovered for the first time that she was in the wrong apartment. And here is the key statement, the last sentence in this affidavit, which clearly represents the officer's defense at this point. Guyger believes she was in her apartment and confronted by a burglar when she fired her handgun, striking and killing him. But here's what the affidavit does not say. It does not say that Botham Jean tried to attack her in any way, shape, or form. It does not say that he had a weapon of any kind. And her testimony suggests that she shot from the door and then entered the apartment and then turned on the lights to see who she shot. Then finding out later she was in the wrong place entirely. Live in downtown Dallas, Kevin Reese.
Rebecca Lopez for much more. Rebecca?
Well, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. The community is asking us to find answers, and one of the biggest questions they have is why this case has not been treated by the Dallas Police Department as an officer-involved shooting, in light of the fact that the officer was in uniform and now says that she shouted commands. And there's a lot of questions about transparency and why this officer hasn't been fired. Randy Blankenbaker is a former Dallas assistant chief who just months ago led the homicide division.
I would have treated this as an officer-involved shooting based on just what I read in the 4 corners of that arrest affidavit.
He says Dallas officers are advised to change out of their uniforms before they leave work because if they get involved in an incident in Dallas, they are presumed to be acting as an officer.
If you're in uniform, if you're in the city, if you're given commands and you use your weapon, you should expect that that's going to be treated as an officer-involved shooting.
And officers are trained to use the least amount of force.
You should only use the amount of force necessary to bring someone into custody.
But the department says this case is extremely unusual because Guyger claims she thought she was in her own apartment. Texas law allows residents to shoot an intruder, so it was classified as a homicide.
According to Wikipedia, the term is exclusively used to refer to shooting committed by the police, not shootings committed by the other people where police officers or police are present. Beyond that, no standard definition exists, and one, usage deferred regarding to whether shooting must be intentional, whether the person must be hit, or whether the person must be on duty at the time. So now they're saying that this is kind of unusual here because the standard operation procedure means that she shouldn't have been in uniform. If she was off duty, she should have took her stuff off, and then that way this case would have been held a little bit differently. But by her being in officer uniform, she should have been held up as an officer-involved shooting. That makes this a little bit more tricky here. Now, if she was in civilian clothes, it would have been different. It could have been moved up to homicide or something like that, but by her having on the uniform, they don't have standard operation procedures for something like that, even if the firearm is discharged by accident. All right, but check this out. He explained a little bit more.
Former Dallas Police Chief David Brown spoke to ABC News.
From start to the point we are now, none of the normal protocols have been applied. And it's extremely frustrating for citizens trying to understand exactly what's happening, what's true, because so many details and so many questions have been left unanswered.
The Texas Rangers were brought in to ensure transparency, but some citizens believe there are still few answers.
Turning over the case to the Texas Rangers is adding to the fuel of just the bizarre scenario around this particular shooting of Mr. John.
The Dallas police investigators initially on this case felt there was enough evidence for a warrant on Friday, but once the Rangers were called in, it delayed the arrest. The Dallas District Attorney's Office now has this case. They're using their own investigators and say they will get justice. Now, as far as Officer Guyger, she has not been fired because she gets to go through an internal affairs process. Sometimes that takes weeks, if not months. It can be expedited, though, and done in a few days, and it's up to Chief Hall to determine if she will terminate her. Reporting live, Rebecca Lopez, Channel 8 News.
Okay, so now we got the Texas Rangers. They supposed to show transparency in the case, so that means that they can't be biased about the situation. Also, she on administrative leave with pay, so she's still getting her money, so she can do what she needs to do here. And it's up to, I guess the chief to fire her or whatever's going on. But I totally understand. I get it. They don't want to fire nobody yet because when they fire them, that means that they won't, they got to handle the situation the best way that they see fit for this case. But I totally understand. But I want to see what Lee Merritt has to say. Check it out.
Yeah, I don't believe that the door was open when she came in. I can tell you that, and I quite frankly, I take issue with the idea that she didn't recognize this as her apartment. I think there's a lot of evidence that that was not her apartment. I think there's a lot of evidence to contradict that.
We will make certain that justice is done in this case.
And a big part of that, according to Faith Johnson, is keeping all the evidence out of public view. So on Monday, just hours after DPD officer Amberguyger turned herself into and then bonded out of jail, the Dallas County DA would not speculate on why the Texas Rangers arrested Guyger for manslaughter after the 4-year officer mistook Botham Jean's apartment for her own and shot and killed him Thursday night.
The ultimate decision in terms of what this charge will be presented to the grand jury.
Johnson said a grand jury will have a range of options, which could include indicting the still current DPD officer with murder. Guyger did not spend a night in jail after being arrested. According to Kaufman County, she was in custody for about 90 minutes Sunday night. The DA's office says how Guyger was allowed to surrender in a neighboring county was also handled by the Texas Rangers. But today she said that's not her office's focus.
Whatever treatment she's going to get in Dallas County, she's going to get it. regardless of the fact that she turned herself into Kaufman County.
Tonight, Amberguyger is still on paid administrative leave, still employed by the Dallas Police Department. Live in Dallas County, David Goins, Channel 8 News.
Again, the Texas Rangers are supposed to be showing transparency here. However, what's strange about this situation, they had her surrender versus surrendering in Dallas County. I don't know what the reason was for that, but maybe, you know, you can help me figure this thing out, man. But let's see what else we got here as far as another clip.
Former Dallas County prosecutor. You've been on both sides of things here, and I think it's really great to bring you in and sort of pick your brain about this case, because people have been really commenting a lot about this, keeping up with this. So much has been made about the charge that was initially made against Officer Guyger, the charge of manslaughter. Can you go into that a little bit? A lot of people thought that was a really odd charge.
Well, I think based upon what I know, besides reading the news reports and the stories that's been written about this case, I've also read the affidavit, sworn affidavit signed by a Texas Ranger in the search warrant to search Mr. Jean's apartment, also an affidavit in support of an arrest warrant to arrest Officer Guyger. And after reviewing all of that information, it's strange to me as to why at this point